Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I've got a fantastic guest for you this morning, Kent, and he is an entrepreneur and he is founder of advertising agency as well as he's authored several books and he loves creating what I describe as the process of combining advertising and marketing with creativity. And today I'm really happy to have him on to discuss his work, his company, his business, and to inspire the audience. Kent, well,
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you.
yeah. So briefly, I know just 1 minute, introduce yourself, and I'm really happy to dive into the conversation.
So I started my career in marketing and advertising when I graduated from college, and I scholarshiped into Brigham Young University on an art scholarship, fine art, paintings and such. And as soon as I got there, I recognized with all the other students there, if I was going to live off my artwork, I was going to starve to death. They were so talented. So I moved my career over into communications. And in communications, I ended up graduating with a degree in communications with an emphasis in advertising and marketing. And it was right during the 1980 economy collapse, and there were no jobs to be had. And so I started my own advertising agency with a friend of mine. And now 44 years later, I look at it and I'm really unemployable. But during those years, in about 5 years in, I recognized that direct marketing gave me the most fulfillment, which is I would be able to track how well the ads would run, how much money they would make, and how good they were for my clients. And so I became a direct marketer, and thus the direct mail was my focus for many years. And it is still today. I have, now that I'm at this stage of life, I spend a lot more time as an author, but telling stories, which is what I would do with the advertising and writing. So I've been a writer for 45 years, and focusing it more on fiction because I enjoy the stories. And what really launched me from the marketing was I decided I'd been an employer. I've hired hundreds of people over the years and had great success with really blue chip clients. We've done a lot of work for Disney and for Discover Card and for HBO and for big banks and big insurance companies. So over the years, I've been in the hallowed halls of great big companies, but I've never been a big enough agency to be the agency for the big companies. But they would always come to me for the direct response. It's like, Kent can make something happen. Let's launch this new product with him. And it's been a lot of fun. Over the years, for TCI, for instance, we introduced streaming video. We were the very first marketing company that did streaming video for the nation's biggest cable company. And it was fun how to do that because they had a great big building with 300 VCRs, and the VCRs were physically connected to 300 homes. And then we would market so that people could actually order a movie and somebody who would go pull it off the shelf, plug it into the VCR and hit play. And that was the test market for the current streaming services. So we've been in the pioneering of advertising for all these years and having a lot of fun at it. And then I decided with all of that experience, I could write a business book and get rich. Halfway through that book, one of my editors said, you know what, this is really dull. It's true, it's good, it's wise, but it's not very interesting. And so I threw some action into it, gave it some personality. The next run through, they said, you know what, get rid of the business because the story is really fun. And so it became a historical fiction, ended up pretty big. But I thought, no, that's what I want to do in my second career. I want to be a writer. So the marketing experience, the communication has all led to now I'd like to focus more on writing for the pleasure of reading. So that's the 45 years in a nutshell. A lot of fun along the years, a lot of great clients all over the country, literally over the world. We've had a few international folks. And so it's been a fun, rewarding, and profitable career.
Yeah, what an interesting introduction. And so we will get right into it. The first thing is talking about is when you talked about what I think we'll go into the creative and writing projects. And the first thing I want to ask you about is that your advertising arm, the Merrill Remington. And what was interesting is you mentioned the term direct marketing, and you said also via mail. So my first question to you is, for a lot of people, how is direct marketing different from other types of marketing? And just briefly expand upon that, and then talk about this idea, because now we have email, we've got social media, we've got Google, all these. So how has direct marketing changed in the era of the internet, as well as social media marketing and all of that?
Oh, excellent question. Thank you. So as I began my career, the glory advertising were the big image ads that you would see in fashion magazines and in all sorts of magazines, where it was a beautiful picture and a clever headline and maybe very brief copy. And for the ad agencies, I always wanted to be on Madison Avenue. That's the headquarters of advertising back in New York City. And so that's the kind of work that I was hoping to get to one day. And that was big television ads and radio and newspaper, the traditional media. But then the poor cousin was direct response. And that's where you would run an ad in Parade magazine. And you get to choose which one of these records that you want to buy, or these knives or products. So the difference was direct marketing was the advertising would solicit a sale by itself. You would send in a reply card, or you would call a toll-free number. You would do one of those kind of responses, and then through UPS or through the mail or somehow you would receive the product. That's direct marketing. Now, direct sales would be like Avon or Tupperware or Fuller Brush, which were those companies. They would come door to door, and they would try to sell you the encyclopedias or the knives or the vacuum cleaners or whatever. So that's direct sales. Then direct marketing included anything where you would sell directly to the customer and not through a store. And then there was just the regular advertising that would try to promote a brand, and then you would go to a local retailer and purchase the product. I fell into direct response and direct marketing, direct response. We call that the same thing. When I had a Nucor Steel, which was one of the nation's largest steel manufacturers, and they needed to market one of their steel products, but traditional media, the regular newspaper, it just didn't reach their audience. And I figured that I could go right to the people who would buy that product and advertise to that product. And so we put together a campaign for Nucor Steel, and it was a brand new product they were offering, introducing into the market that already had competitors. And in 6 months, they were the leading manufacturer in the Western United States. So I think I got something here. And then we had another client that we did direct marketing for, where we went right to, it was selling a battery treatment for golf cart batteries that would make them last longer and charge faster. The batteries would. And we went right to certain country clubs, and we got a giant response rate from it, a very successful campaign. And so I was invited at that point to enter the ECHO competition, which is an international competition for direct marketers. And off that campaign, I won the Gold ECHO Award, which was the best business-to-business direct mail campaign in the world that year. Now, remember, I'm just this tiny little guy in Utah, and nobody knows who I am. But now I'm on this international stage with the ad agencies that were back in New York. But I went back to the big conference that they had. It was in Montreal that year. And I opened my eyes. Direct marketing is this huge business. People selling directly to people, and companies selling directly to people. And so I went in, I became a direct marketer. Now, fast forward over all these years, how does that differ from today's digital marketing? Advertising dollars have always followed, they follow the eyes and the ears. So whoever has people that are going to listen to, watch, or read what you offer, that's where you're going to get your advertising dollars. So over the years, the challenge has been who's the digital world going to take eyes and ears from? Because that's where the money's going to go. And so radio took a big hit, but it didn't get killed. Newspapers have pretty much been killed. They're very minor. Outdoor billboards and that kind of thing, they're still hanging in there. But you would think that direct mail, because it's expensive, the typical piece that I'll mail today, and the group that I'm working with, I'm serving as a creative director for one of the biggest direct marketing companies that markets for insurance leads. We'll mail 10 to 20 million pieces. So it's volume enough, but the pieces are 50 to 75 cents a piece. Now that's an expensive piece of advertising. So television has taken traditional television took a big hit, but cable television ate into that. But when all is said and done, the digital has grown every year and it's not let up at all, but direct mail and television has hung in there. So direct mail took a hit, but it still works very well. But the digital, the Facebook ads, the other social media ads, the Google digital ads, and email, those are all depending on how you do them, but your message, your creative message, and your targeting is still vital. It's the same principles of you have to get their attention, you have to have a product that they want, you've got to make it credible, you've got to make it desirable, and then you got to call them to action. So I was a pioneer, one of the pioneers in direct marketing, and now everybody's in it. So direct marketing is the broad. So really I have to back up and say, okay, yeah, I'm a direct mail guy, even though we back up our mail in today's world with a lot of Facebook, a lot of digital ads that complement the direct mail. So it's a team effort nowadays.
That was a really wonderful segue. And it really, when you were describing it, it reminds me of faster. And basically when Google Ads first came out, it was basically you could bid on these keywords and pay something. It's like 1 cent, 2 cents per keyword. You could be an expert in this keyword niche, and that would drive a lot of inbound leads. And this was more effective and efficient than the standard way of getting leads. So that's what it sounds like. This way of reaching people that are targeted and much more efficient and effective. The next question I have for you is basically because everything is now targeted with AI, and how are you generating these lists? Like, how do you know which customers to send these items to, and how is AI complementing, or how are you thinking about AI or using AI in direct marketing campaigns?
Okay, it's an excellent question. We have now with our various clients, one of those clients is simply targeting their audience based on demographics. This age, this income, they know that the people in the rural areas are better buyers than the urban areas because they can go to in an urban area, you can go to the store. In the rural areas, it's easier to buy, that kind of stuff. That's one of our clients. Another client that we do a lot of work with, we use a process where we're able to go in with our technology and actually identify a potential buyer because of these are the 1,000 buyers that we have. We're able to analyze those buyers and then go back in and say, okay, this is how much they make. This is where they live. This is almost kind of thing. So that's traditional targeting that we've been able to do. But now we're able to use AI, and it goes out and follows these people and says, okay, this is where they came from. This is their IP address. So we know where they are physically. We have their email address. We have their Facebook account. We have all of that information to where we can target. Here's an example of a campaign that I don't have the results yet, but we're able to identify, to market my new fictional historical fiction. Ken Follett is an author that I've read a lot of his work, and he's a fine author. And so I think if he can sell 1 billion books, I can learn from him and sell a few. So I'm able to actually target, and we use some AI tools. I'm not the technology guy, so I couldn't even tell you how. But our team that I work with, they're able to say, here are people who follow Ken Follett's Facebook page. And so they like his work and they're following him. And this is where you can reach them. And so I'm able to then target and go out and say, hey, do you like his books? You're going to like mine. And so we're doing that for that's just a personal experience, but we're doing that for insurance sales, for the annuities, for long-term care, for Medicare, to where we actually have, and over this weekend, I met with another individual who's got a program that he's pretty anxious for me to try. And that is where they're able to say, here's Kent Merrell on this. This is where we found him to begin with. And then through AI, we followed him here and here. And this isn't just Google doing it. It's scary on what can happen. We follow him here and then to here and then to here and then to here. And then we say, he purchased over here. How did he get there? And then we say, oh, you realize that this is where the pivot took. And this is where they stopped. And they're able now to say, okay, this is where we're going to interject into this sales funnel across the various social media and across the various places. So the technology is going fast, and AI will then say, okay, we're following Ken. It's like a fox chasing, or a hound chasing a fox. And the fox is turning and changing and whatever. And if the hound knew which tree it was going to climb, or I guess a fox doesn't climb trees, it knows where they're going to go or hide or whatever, it's going to be able to outsmart them. And that's where AI is coming. I know it is. I haven't used it specifically for that. But the technology is going to say at one point, right here, send Kent Merrell a direct mail piece. We have one client right now that somebody responds to a mail, they get on their website and they look at something, and I get a note that says, Kent, print this mailer and drop it in the mail today. So today, for this one client, it's just one single agent that I'm referring to, I will get a computer ping with a picture of what they looked at that I will put on the mailer, and then I'll print that out, and it'll go in the mail, and he'll get it by Wednesday, and it'll have another message. So AI knew that if I throw a direct mail piece in this sales cycle somewhere, that's where it hits. So yeah, AI it's growing, and pretty soon I'm going to be unnecessary. So I'm going to write books.
Yeah, which brings us to the tail end. It really reminds me, because when I was reading Michael Dell's autobiography, and he was talking about how he, when he was creating Dell, he would actually go to the courthouse to get the addresses and the information of people like newlyweds or like people that were most likely buy a PC. And that's how he basically ended the early version of search and just indexing and being able to find all this information collected. And he would actually print out a mailer and mail it to them. Hey, you just got married, or you just had this event. We're selling PCs for a discount. And that's how he grew. So it really sounds like in this AI, especially like social media, like they know all the cookies and they know what you spend time on, what you scroll through, what you like, what you engage in. And then it basically takes the targeted ads that bring to your attention. Moving on is talking about this creative process, because I know you wrote 2 books and you want to talk about that. Talk about this transition into creative writing, and we'll end it with how can people find you and follow you, because you're really an expert in this area.
Okay. Thank you. One of the things that has been enjoyable to me with direct marketing, when I would do a direct mail campaign and it would succeed beyond the averages, we would get an 8% or a 22% response or whatever. It would get some national acclaim. And so I was invited to go to conferences and speak about creativity. And as I would go to conferences around the country, and I've even been to a few international ones where they want just talk about how you be creative and think up stuff. As I would travel all these places, I thought, I want to write a movie. And I would prepare for these conferences on my way out. On my way home, I would write. And over the years, I've written several movies. Of course, nobody's going to buy my movie or produce it, but it's just that creative expression. And when this was 10 years ago, I began this book that was going to be a marketing book, but turned into historical fiction. It was basically the creative process, which is just, I don't know how you do it. I just come up with ideas. The ideas are not the problem. And writer's block is not the problem. It's time, having the time to do it. And so over those years, as I would teach how to be creative, it's how do you brainstorm ideas? And the biggest key that I would teach was everything's good. And then just the next one's better. So you never kill an idea. So we would sit down in a brainstorm session, for instance, with 4 or 5 of our people. And we would say, okay, how do we sell this product? And then somebody would say, let's drop it from airplanes. Instead of us saying, that doesn't make sense, it'll kill people. Then they say, yeah, but you know what, we could do this. And so ideas spurn other ideas. And pretty soon you're off on some tangent somewhere, but you back up and you say, here's 3 possible ideas. So just with that discipline over the years, as I decide to write a book, I think, okay, what could this character do? Or what does this book need to say? Or what do I want to accomplish? And so the big business idea that I started with in my first book is still in the historical fiction. It's just subtle. And that's still really the idea, that kind of the theme. The next book, the one that comes out in November of 2024, it started out, it's the conquest of the Incas in Peru. That's the story. And I served 46, 7, 8 years ago. I served as a missionary down in Bolivia, South America. And there's a couple that they're called a mission presidency. They're the ones that are taking care of all these 19, 20-year-old kids that are running wild through the Andes. She gave me this book called The Conquest of the Incas, and fascinating book. So I thought, that's a great story. It's going to be this Inca princess is going to be on the sacrificial altar, and some Spanish conquistador is going to rescue her. They're going to run off. It's going to be a romance. And so that was the idea. And then the creativity let the ideas go. I couldn't find a worthy conquistador. The Spanish conquistadors were quite a brutal batch. So, of course, that's my fictional character. And so then the story just develops to where it's now, the story isn't a romance. The story is the fight for liberty. What it took for one empire to conquer another, and then how did they become free? How do we win our liberty? How do we have self-rule? And so it embroiled me in all sorts of other things, became more passionate. And so the story it just comes from that creativity. So that's the way the stories evolve. And just like the old brainstorming, let it go here, let it go there. And then I've got to figure out how to solve the problems that I write myself into. And that's a real fun part of the creative process. So did you
really enjoyed that.
You want me to tell you what to find and do a little sales pitch, or did you have other questions, you?
No, it's really interesting. I know we have around a minute remaining. So how can people find you and check out your work?
Right now, the best was going to be my author page, which is kentmerrellauthor.com. And that's MEREL author.com. And that's where all of my writing world is. But it's also got even on the whole page, you'll scroll down all the other stuff that I write. I've got 4 blogs that I'm writing. And sometimes they get a lot of attention, sometimes they don't. But the new book that comes out pretty soon is The Conquest, if I get this right, Conquest of Liberty. Anyway, The Conquest of Liberty, that's the new one that's coming out. It's the first of 4 books. The last one that I wrote was The Blade of Safavid. It's called Safavid. This is a clash between the Mughal and the Persian Empire and a bunch of pirates who make a mess, and it's a fun romp. But KentMerrellAuthor.com is where you'll find that and access to the other things, because writers write, and I love to write. I'm writing about the way my wife makes chocolates, hand-dipped chocolates. I write about some of the religious books that I read. I write about just various things that are found in there, enjoyable subjects.
Awesome. And thanks so much, and keep up the great work.
Thank you very much.